America, my name is Osei-Frimpong, and you're watching the Black Athenians. Now, it's been a very, very busy week, people. You know, I could go down the laundry list. I don't know if there are any more white Democrats in Virginia that haven't been caught with something. So, but I'm not going to talk about that. And, you know, I know there's a brother caught up and stuff, too. Like, Virginia makes lovers and something else, too.
It is four lovers.
Four lovers.
Apparently of no one.
I don't.
They certainly apparently don't like black people.
They don't like black people, and then, you know, I could talk about Fairfax a little bit, but I blame black people last. It's complicated. I do want to say that there are a lot of very interesting things about the picture with the blackface and who edited the yearbook and how far down in the Virginia hierarchy we got to go before we find someone without like an obvious like expression of racial terrorism in their past. But I think in the picture with the blackface, one guy in blackface, the other guy in the Klan uniform, the questions we should be asking, and I think these are very good questions, should be like, where do they get that uniform? like where did they get that uniform?
Who keeps that around in the closet?
Who keeps that around? Like, do you think they had how hard did they have to look to find a Klan uniform, you think, to go to that party? You think they were just laying around? I suspect they were. I suspect they were. And don't tell me about, well, the 80s was a long time ago. No, it wasn't. Blackface has been stigmatized since the 20s, so I don't know what you're talking about. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they just didn't care because nobody cares about black people because, like, America treats us like trash. And that's just where we are, and that's what we're going to do something about it. And with that, Matthew, hit the beat.
To the beat, yo.
Yeah. Sound good to me. Never change the ways for the world or the government. If I was the president, then I would state facts. You leave it up to me, I paint the White House black and ain't no feature in your front.
Yeah, so, you know, when you're about to get married, some people get their mother's or their grandmother's wedding dress. I suspect for a lot of families, it's like that Klan uniform. They didn't have to go to a coffee shop, costume shop. No, that was in someone's attic or
Fresh out the closet.
You didn't have to dig in trunks.
No, there were no trunks involved. As a matter of fact, he had to take the dry cleaning plastic off.
Just make sure you get it dry cleaned back, son.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that we have a problem, but it's not just individuals. We got to treat this like the drug crisis, which means just criminalizing individuals isn't actually going to get at the situation because it's in the water. We need to change the water. And so that's what this show is going to be on. It's on conversion because I deal in arguments. I study philosophy. All I do is I write arguments. But I also study philosophy, and I know when arguments aren't going to do the job. And so we need to think about the pre-argument stage and what you got to do when arguments aren't going to work because someone's not open to the truth. Because until you think that what you see in your life isn't, as long as you think that that's the truth, arguments won't work. You need to be a little bit disillusioned. You need to be a little bit jaded. You need to be you can't take appearances as fact in order to actually appreciate arguments. Because arguments go past appearances. And as long as you think that the system works or that the appearances will tell you the truth, then like no amount of arguing is going to you need to be shook. And then your mind will be open to like, oh, what do I need to know? Because maybe I don't know everything I need to know. And that's when I can get at you at arguments. But as long as you think that the world works or that it's just or that everything's going to work out, like no amount of arguments are going to get you. And, you know, this is one thing that the right gets takes more seriously than the left. Because the right, every day, I listen to Rush Limbaugh sometimes because he's very entertaining and he's very good at his job. And there's a way in which I can learn things from him. He is very good at always phrasing that the liberals are after your mind. The left is after your mind. They're coming to get you. And so there's an entire industry that's trying to infect you with their ideas. And so you need to listen to me, and I alone will defend you against them. But like, make no mistake, there's a plot against you. And one reason Rush is very good at this is that the right actually has a plot. The right actually has a plot. They take this very seriously. They're plotting. And I got in a little trouble because I said, and I'm going to actually I'm going to say it again. I got in a little trouble because I said that in order for black communities to be made whole in the United States, it may be the case that white people have to die because of the history of the United States. And I'm going to back that up a little bit. So give me the graph with the regular graph we always use, because I need to frame, because if this is the only time you've listened to me, first of all, if this is the only time you listen to me, you might want to go to thefunkyacademic.com and decide to give me $5, $15, or $50 a month, because this is hard work that I do, and doing it makes me almost unemployable, and depending on who you talk to, unteachable. It's like
Almost unemployable?
Well, look, the university.
In the South?
There's an entire black people and white allies at home. There's an entire industry right now, as we speak, trying to get me kicked out of the University of Georgia. But yet I still live, and I am here giving you the news. So if you appreciate what I'm trying to do for the people, make this big. They can't kick me out because between you and me, Negro to Negro, and allies who are watching, I'm very good at my job. My classroom is a good place to be. So that's why I do this for the people at home, because I want my classroom to be bigger than just UGA. So if you look at this number, just these are medians, not averages. Median white wealth, it was 116. The numbers are from, I want to say, Edward Wolf at UGA. Not UGA, Edward Wolf at NYU. He's a wealth economist. And so if you just, the document this comes out of is called Household Wealth Trends to 2013. He does this every 7 years or so. And I think this number is based off his 2013 report. So Edward Wolf, NYU, household wealth medians. And so white household medians at about $116,000 and black at about $1,700 once you make a handful of adjustments. $1,700, which means you're broke. What moves can you make with $1,700?
I mean, you can't keep your car moving with $1,700.
You can't move. You can't live. All right. So that's. I'm saying before those numbers emerge, because they're not only the disparate, but you can make it small again. Before they're not only disparate, they're going in opposite directions, right? So that's like. Before, it's not just that, well, a rising tide lifts all ships. No, rising tide does not lift all ships. Rising tide, those white boats are using the swell to ram my boat, my rowboat.
And they seem to pretend that all of us have boats.
I'm in a vest.
We don't all have boats.
I'm out here to, I don't like a rising tide.
Where have you seen a $1,700 boat? We just drowned.
I guess that was it. I guess my life was what it was. I got tired, so I drowned. I guess that's just what it is. So I say before the numbers get to where they should go, where either we're even or like at least trending the same way, there's going to be a large-scale political revolution where we actually steer policies towards black communities as opposed to steering them to build white wealth as what, America's known to do for all of America. So I think there's going to be you need large political changes, and people who want to keep the status quo are going to get in their feelings. And when I say they're going to get in their feelings, this is America, and I'm talking about white people, so there are going to be guns involved. Give me the Bevins quote. Give me the Bevins picture. Yeah, Kentucky. Go and make it big. Make other people see. I don't want people to be confused about what I'm talking about.
And they should know what he
All
looks
right,
like.
so he says, Kentucky governor. This is an elected official. Kentucky governor, standing governor. He's still the governor. He said this in 2016. Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin says bloodshed may be needed to protect conservatism. All right. So bloodshed may be needed to protect conservatism. And I suspect the people he said this to were not like booing in the audience. I don't think so. So that's okay. You can put the picture above my head. Good. What's up, my man? Good. So that's what Matt Bevin, the governor, sitting governor of Kentucky, said. Bloodshed may be needed to protect conservatism. Now, put below that picture, put the graph. And I'm saying conservative policies will not make black communities whole. If that's a situation, conservative policies will not make black communities whole. In order for black communities to become whole, at least going in the same direction as white communities, we're going to need some pretty radical politics. I think that's appropriate because of the whole history of America. And he's saying in order to get away from radical politics, bloodshed might be needed to protect conservatism. Make the bloodshed might be. I want people to etch this in their mind.
It wasn't the rest of the quote, and I'm willing to do like he.
Yeah, no, he said he was willing to like send his sons to die.
Yeah,
one of his 9 children. I'll read some of that. And this is the sitting governor of Kentucky. What I'm saying is, I don't think he's bluffing. Now, black people at home, is he bluffing? Is he speaking in?
No.
Is he speaking in hyperbole? Is this a figure of speech?
No.
No, I'm just saying, I take this man at his word. He's telling me what he's willing to do to keep the status quo. And me as a man who likes black freedom, I don't think the status quo is adequate. So if we're actually going to move to the quality of politics that will make black communities whole, I think he's going to reach for his gun. Or at least, if not him, some of the people in his crowd who agree with him. That's all I'm saying.
He'll be leading them with the
I'm just saying that he's not bluffing. I'm getting punished right now for saying I think he's not. I think he's serious. I don't think he's bluffing. I take white people at their word. Well, not all the time, but I think I'm pretty good at telling the difference between when someone's lying and when someone's telling the truth. And when this guy says he's willing to kill and be killed in order to protect conservatism, and he's elected by an electorate who knows this is who he is, I believe him. And what I'm saying is we should believe him and take him very seriously. And let me tell you,
how is that not a terroristic threat? Because if that had been one of us,
he's trying to protect the status quo. It's like we live under white terrorism. Like our everyday is the fear of triggering him. We all know he's telling the truth. We just pretend that he's not because we don't want him to be triggered. That's our life. Scared of white folk. That's our life. Me, not so much because I don't know how much life I get. But most life, black life, is quasi scared of white folk. Because he could say this, and I'll tell you, he's not scared of us. There's an asymmetry here. There's an asymmetry. In the same way there's an asymmetry in that line, there may be an asymmetry in how much, this is one thing, if you have Netflix, go ahead and watch Killer Mike's show on it, because it's actually pretty good. He's got a show right now called Trigger Warning, because I don't agree with Killer Mike on everything, but it's nice to see a black man think through his thoughts who's not obviously scared of white folk. And you go to one of his concerts, it's all white folk. We're not paying $60 to go to hear a rapper. 60. I got guys who
60.
I don't
60
know.
Is a low ticket.
I don't know how much tickets cost because I don't go to tickets. I don't go to concerts. Any hip hop artist who knows, any hip hop artist who has money
knows where it comes from.
Didn't get that money.
We're 13% of the population,
and none of the wealth.
Yeah,
you got 17. None of the wealth. So I just assume. I don't know if there was an illusion that hip hop artists are getting paid by they're black people in it. Anybody who thinks that are Beyonce concerts the same way?
No.
Who goes to Beyonce concerts?
White gay men. I mean, have you seen 180?
Black people.
180 is the low end of a Beyonce ticket.
I don't know who goes to Beyonce concerts. Yeah. The peanut gallery says they're too expensive. I don't know. It's not us. I think it's probably a few black bougie folks who spent all year saving and now got something, and then regular white people.
Okay, what you do if you want to see who goes to a Beyonce,
the same people go to Hamilton.
Yeah. That was the one I was going to point out. Or you can watch that Fire documentary. You'll see the people who can afford Beyonce tickets.
Yeah, the Fire Festival. So it's not us. So Killer Mike is a black guy. Still, he's got a black guy's economy. which means it's paid by white people. But still, in his show, he actually seems like a free black man thinking through the issue, like a free black man. And you don't see that very often because free black men don't get TV shows. I think Donald Glover's doing a good job with Atlanta, but like free black men thinking is not something you see except for at the Funky Academic. So why you should go and support me? Because I'm a free black man thinking my free thoughts, and they're good thoughts. So this guy, who's definitely free, is saying that like if anyone tries to mess up my good gig, there's going to be bloodshed. And I'm saying that in order to make those numbers right, we're going to have to mess up his good gig. And so there might be bloodshed. Or we could just keep it as we're doing it right now, and just black people just kind of slowly go to genocide. Descendants of slaves. Africans do okay, like myself. Dad's from Ghana, my mom's from South Carolina. We survive. But like everybody else, if you got two black people, if you got two black parents who've been black for a while in the United States, it's not looking good for you in the future. And anyone who tells you anything different is lying. So that's a situation we're in, and I want to do better. I think we can do better, but it's going to be like we can't be scared of him. And a whole lot of people who kind of have his sensibility are trying to get me kicked out of the university right now, except my scholarship is too good. So like they're having trouble with it. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and they're going to try to keep doing what they're doing. But I'm just saying that these guys are serious. And you know he's serious because he says, I'm serious. He also says, and I don't know if I think the quote, give me the quote. I'm going to read it here. America is worth, that one? Yeah, put it big over my name and all that stuff. All right, so this is a quote in the same speech he gives. And I believe these people when they talk to me, when they say what they're going to say and how they're going to say it, because he's eerily specific. Eerily specific. America is worth fighting for ideologically. I want us to be able to fight ideologically, mentally, spiritually, and economically so that we don't have to do it physically. But that may, in fact, be the case, he told the crowd. The problem is, for us to be made whole, and I'll put the graph back, keep the thing and put the graph back. Get as many pictures up there as you can. So for us to be made whole, we're going to have to fight them ideologically. And if that doesn't work, we're going to have to fight them mentally, and we're going to have to fight them spiritually, and we're going to have to fight them, because this is about economics, economically. And when we fight them on all those ways, what they're going to do, he's already told us what he's going to do. He's already told us what he's going to do. I'm saying that I want to do it all of these. I'm saying of these four ways, ideologically, mentally, spiritually, and economically, we're going to have to fight white people to get our cut. And I'm also saying that when we fight them these four ways, they're going to get physical. That's what I'm saying. That's also what he's saying. I'm saying he's not lying. I'm saying he's telling you what he's going to do. So why not, why do we pretend that this isn't what we're dealing with? And why do we pretend that he's not the only one? I mean, why do we pretend that he's the only one? Because he's not the only one. He's the elected governor.
Who will probably win re-election? Solidly.
Because he's the one who said that, look, if Negroes try to take any of your stuff, because they got confused about their place, we got to get our guns. So that's what we're dealing with. I want to beat them ideologically, mentally, spiritually, economically, and to get our. I don't want black supremacy. I just want a cut. I want one purple line going the same way, not two, not one red line going down and one blue line going up. I want one purple line going the same way, and he doesn't want one purple line going the same way. He likes things as is. And so I'm saying that if we're going to get one purple line going the same way, he's going to get violent. He's saying, if you want one purple line going the same way, I'm going to get violent. I believe him. I believe him. And I'm just saying we got to be prepared for that, or we just got to consign ourselves to bootlicking.
It's that old saying, when someone tells you who they are,
believe him.
Yeah.
Believe him. I'm believing him. I'm getting in a lot of trouble for believing him. Because apparently it's déclassé to believe what he says he's going to do.
But he's not getting in trouble for saying it.
I don't know. He's not getting unelected. So whatever trouble it means, it's not like, I don't know.
I mean,
He's not getting death threats like I am, man.
At this rate, he'll be a presidential candidate very soon.
He's not losing Kentucky. So so that's what we're at. So, and now since I'm trying to frame this, I want to also take these graphs off and put the cat being hosed on right now. All right, so this is saying let's during Black History Month, let us also celebrate the men and women who were bullied and sprayed and abused, fighting for equality, but aren't in the history books. I believe that's true. We should also look at them. I want to know who's holding that hose. I want to know, like,
what's his grandson doing?
I want to know, and I have a series of questions. I have lots of questions because I'm an academic. So, like, I have lots of questions. I want to know who's holding that hose. I don't think that person is sufficiently recognized in the history books either. That's why a lot of us are confused. I want to know how much they were paid. I want to know where they lived, how much that house appreciated. I want to know if that hose money has been, like, intergenerationally passed on and accruing at market rates, because old money is a lot of money. The market's at $25,000. It wasn't at $25,000 when that hose money was being made. So if they put it in a nice like T-bill or an index fund, that hose money is real money. So I want to know where that person went to church. I want to know who the hose person, how much of that hose money was turned into tithes to support that church, and has the formative theology in that church substantively changed? Because I suspect the person this is South, remember? I suspect the person who is shooting that hose is a man of God. So, good Methodist or Baptist.
I'm going to say, I'm sure he was in church that Sunday.
Every Sunday. Yeah, he hoses Negroes on Saturday. Took a nice shower, like with the Klan meeting, and then like hung up the thing and put on his Sunday best and took, the family to church. Because that's just history. And like, I'm joking because I'm a funny guy, but like, I am not lying. You find a lie in anything I said. So the only reason we don't know this is because we don't teach people about history of the hosers. Like I did some digging about, because everyone talks about Rosa Parks, and the first thing I said is like, who's driving that bus? Yeah, who's driving that bus? Who's driving that bus? So I did some digging on a guy named, I think his name is Blake or Flake. So I want to know the formative theology of the church has changed. When this guy goes home and he talks to his mom and dad, because the person who has a hose is probably some 30-year-old with a 60-year-old parent. What did his parents say about him holding the hose?
Good work.
Nice work. That was an honest day's work, son. What did they?
I want to use the word uppity Negroes.
Putting them in their place, because some people don't know their place. That's a thing. So I'm learning how many Southern white people still say the phrase, "It's okay because black people know their place." Apparently, that phrase is still said. I'm from California. Black people know their place. It's all right. Is that phrase still in the parlance in white communities?
Oh, I can't answer that.
I can't.
I can't answer.
I've been around,
but
like apparently,
I spent some time around them, but like
I know from time to time.
They classically.
We still hear that phrase word to word. There's some white people in the audience. That phrase word to word for word. They know their place.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do know that phrase, but it's typically phrased as, "Oh, that's one of the good Negroes."
Who knows his place?
Yeah,
and that's what separates the good ones from the bad ones.
As I thought about it, I'm like, "Oh, I do know that phrase. It's just normally put this way."
Yes. So do not confuse me with someone who knows their place. Do not be confused. I know I want what's on your plate. So I want to know if their spouses, what their spouses said. All right, so I hosed some Negroes today. I want to know what their spouses said. And I want historical documents. And I want to know what they tell their children about being a hose holder. What do you tell Junior? I suspect you tell
Junior how to hold a hose.
It's like, there's a good job in this hose holding. In this business. I come from generations of hose holders. We've been holding hose. My daddy taught me to hold a hose. I'm going to teach you how to hold a hose. And since I'm progressive, I teach my daughters how to hold a hose too.
Yeah.
Since I'm progressive.
What's interesting is watching, as someone brought up Virginia.
Virginia, yes.
And I've been watching kind of the discourse, and it is very interesting seeing people say, it was the 80s. And I'm like, wow, interesting. Now, I'd like to point out, I've yet to see anyone that wasn't a white person say that.
Nothing changed. And like, this is one thing, it's funny because as I get older, I realize I just turned 40. I turned 40 last year. As I get older, I realize that nothing changes unless anything changes. Because when I was, in the 90s, I would thought, well, the 70s were so long ago, the 60s were so long ago. Now it's 2018, I realize that the 60s were just, like people become their grandparents really quickly. Unless there's an institutional intervention, like hardcore institutional intervention, people become their grandparents. Well, so like we're living in 1920s. Like there's no substantive difference. Back then there were people who thought black people were people, and then there were a whole lot of white people who thought that like, nah, we don't have to treat them as if they're people. Like it's the same percentage. Nothing changes unless there's like an intentional institutional intervention. So someone's going to have to tell me there's been a intentional institutional intervention, some sort of truth and reconciliation where like they let me in to tell the truth about you. And so like,
where do they do that?
They don't do that. So like, that's why the institutions haven't changed. And that's why we reproduce it. And I think it's really clear when you look at the Covington school kids, like no, and they're not the only ones.
We know I'm still stuck on that quote. I wish we could have both just walked away. No, you could have walked away. Like you had every ability to walk away.
He didn't want to walk away. He wanted to win.
Yeah.
He wanted to win the argument. And institutions don't change unless there's an intent. And institutions don't die like people do. So if you're thinking about institutional time versus people time, like 30 years is nothing. Nothing's changed at the University of Georgia in 30. Like nothing. They put some like nothing deep, like cosmetic changes.
We got a couple of memorials that don't actually mention that they're memorials for slaves. Yeah. I mean, just pointing that out to UGA.
So what I'm doing right now is telling you the truth about conversion. So arguments aren't going to convert. Arguments aren't going to convert people. You can't. You don't argue against Bevin. What's his last name? Bevin.
Yeah. Bevin.
Yeah. Bevin. Yeah, and you don't argue against a hose holder here. That's not going to work. You need to convert them, and to convert them, the more I study, the more I see like the Jesus of Jesus, the genius of Jesus, or the genius of Socrates. The way to convert people is you don't go after them, you go after everyone watching around. And honestly, the only way this happens is if they see that their life is a lie. And the only way that they show someone that their life is a lie is by showing someone get ultimately punished for the truth. Anything short of that, they'll think the system works. And it has to be for speaking the truth. That's the only way to provoke a conversion. And that's when once you provoke the conversion, then you can kind of like work the arguments. And when you show them that people in these United States get punished for the truth, then you have to show them all of the people who have an industry in falsehood, for whom that's a job. And there are a lot of people for whom it's a job. And with my classes, I talk about this. Believe it or not, I'm a very popular teacher. With my classes, when I talk about this, I talk about the diamond ring, the wedding ring. They're like diamonds are forever. And how, before 1920s, people didn't have diamond rings really. Like it was like 4% of the population. Then they didn't even have diamond wedding rings or engagement rings. It was like it could have been a sapphire or like your aunt's emerald or whatever, or like just a band or whatever, or nothing. But De Beers, the diamond company, put together the most famous and powerful ad campaign in the history of ad campaign, and they got America in the sweet spot. Because in the 20s, psychoanalysis had like taken off for a little bit, but like the American populace wasn't hip to it. So like the marketing companies got to use all the social science that the people didn't have a resistance to, and so they got them in right at that sweet spot with the diamonds are forever and the understanding that like it's not real love unless he has a diamond ring. And like by the 40s, it had gone from like 4% to like 93%.
You do see people, like I watch people talking about, oh, look at the diamond. I'm like, that's a house payment.
That's a house payment.
Why are we wearing?
Because we were conned. Because there was an entire industry into imputing that idea in your mind. And that's not the only idea, right? So once you get people to see that there's an entire industry, and this is, like I said, this is what Rush does. He always says, the liberals are going after your mind. They want you to think a certain way, so you need me. And it's a war for your mind, so you need me, I alone.
And your children's minds.
And your children's minds. So like, so once you get people to see that like their ideas are the result of a very large propaganda machine, then the arguments will start working. But until they see that, they think the world is just.
I'm looking at the hose picture, and
part of me
wants to do a
about
little bit more research and go, how many times was the governor of Alabama reelected after that?
Hosing, yeah.
I want mayor.
We need to study white institutions. Like the illusion, black academics get flattered or otherwise induced or incentivized just to study black people. Honestly, I think this is worse than black feminist departments. But like we get induced just to study black people. That's like a lung cancer doctor who gets induced to study the lung. They can tell you about alveoli and bronchi and the lobes, but they can't tell you anything about that smokestack, about that factory right down down the road, which might be relevant if you care about lung cancer. I'm saying black people, we need to study the smokestack and not be flattered into just studying ourselves. Because as interesting as I am, if we're actually about justice, we need to study the church and the cultures and the families and go to work on the institutions that produced the Bevins and the people in his audience. Because you know that they're going to work on the schools that produce black people. You know that.
Someone pointed out, and I haven't verified this, that apparently he is from a lovely town in New Hampshire. So let's also kind of get rid of that myth that Southern whites are the only problem.
The whole, oh gosh, what was his name? The whole the entire U.S. is Southern is the name of Charles Payne. Charles Payne is a education professor at the University of Chicago, and he wrote, the whole U.S. is Southern. And a lovely little article. It's like 12 pages long. You can just Google it. Charles Payne. And it's about like desegregation battles across the U.S. And when the Southern politicians realize that, like, oh no, nobody wants to go to school with black people. Not the people in Georgia, not the people in Iowa, not the people in Oregon, not the people, like nobody. The whole U.S. is Southern. So that's Charles Payne. So conversion means actually, I'm gonna drop some philosophy. I'm gonna end with dropping some real philosophy. Look, I actually can read Greek, I can read German, I read Latin. I actually do this seriously. So we're gonna talk about Plato and the allegory of the cave in Book 7 of the Republic. If you want to turn off now, you can. Or if you want to learn something, you can. All right, so in the allegory of the cave in the Republic, Plato's talking about some of the struggles for like actually like talking to people about knowledge. And so he starts off with this guy who's chained, staring at shadow puppets on the wall. Like, he doesn't know they're shadow puppets. You know, shadow puppets when someone's going like this or whatever, and a flashlight, and you see like a bunny rabbit. So he's staring at shadow puppets on the wall, and it seems riching. It seems like very interesting, and he's studying the shadow puppets, and he thinks they're fascinating. Someone else, and Plato's very clear about this, someone else has to come back and like turn that person's head to the back, to the whole industry of people who are like next to the fire, like making puppets. Someone else has to turn that person. The person can't do it themselves. Someone else has to turn that back and say, like, all the things you thought were real, they're just shadows made by them. All right? So the conversion is understanding the shadows are mere shadows. And then there's a process of like looking past appearances and practicing the art of looking past appearances. And this is why a lot of black people who know the truth get labeled conspiracy theorists, because we have to look past appearances, and it's an art. And like looking past, like just taking things as they're given to you is easy. But it's not a luxury that black people have. It's a luxury a whole lot of white people have. But looking past appearances is the art. So that's like a hauling. And Kind of in the metaphor, in the allegory, it's like you're hauling yourself up out of the cave. And then you're out of the cave and you get real light and you see real things. You're like, wow, this is different. This is better. Cool. After years of hauling and getting used to seeing things past appearances. Wow, this is better. This is awesome. It takes a while for your eyes to get adjusted because you've been in the caves for a long time. But once your eyes adjust, you're like, great. And then you go back down to the cave to tell the people. And now when you're in the cave, it takes a while for your eyes to adjust again. And so the people think, what are you talking about? And you're kind of your eyes don't really see the shadows as well as they used to. So they think you're crazy. And depending on the ending, they kill you. But, because you're messing up you talk them once you talk them into it or they end it. There's the story, The Coming of John is a chapter in W.D. Du Bois's The Souls of Black Folk, which is a different kind of telling of this. He doesn't say it, but it's pretty obvious that it is. And they kill John at the end. John goes up north, gets educated, goes back down, and it doesn't end well. They're coming to get him. So converting people is not through arguments. Arguments work once you get to the top or once you're interested in the hauling. It doesn't work once you think that the shadows are real, because all arguments do is get you very good at justifying the shadows. And you can tell you can be very rigorous about shadows, but they won't tell you that the shadows are mere shadows. I'm trying to turn you around and see and get you to see that the shadows are mere shadows, and there's a whole truth out there, and the truth isn't good for black people unless we make it good for black people. Shonda Rhimes is telling you that you can just be happy with the shadows, and you too can marry a black anesthesiologist. You cannot marry a black anesthesiologist. You're just getting confused.
Or you can be the side piece for a president.
You can be a side piece for a president, and that's what success looks like.
Looks like.
That's what I'm saying. And be a side piece. I never saw when Olivia Pope was in the Oval Office. She was not advocating for reparations. So there's a whole mind game about the best way. And Kamala Harris is I don't know, but there's a whole problem with the idea of black success means not advocating for black people.
I want to feel like that,
and not just getting out of prison. I want black people to have actually money so they don't commit so many crimes. Yeah. So you don't have to kite flight checks. Kite checks. You don't have to kite checks because you have money in your account because you have a job that pays money. So this whole de-incarceration is great, but it's got to come with jobs or other assets. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I feel like until the next election, we need to make sure that at least every episode to point out that Kamala Harris is a part of the problem, not the solution.
No, she's a cop. No, I'm from Northern California. And I was in Northern California when Kamala Harris was. I heard about Kamala Harris when she was just Willie Brown's girlfriend. She was just Willie Brown's girlfriend. And that's how I knew Willie Brown was the married mayor of San Francisco. That was his lady. Everybody knew, no big deal. Yeah. He was 60. She was 28. And then she became attorney general, and that's fine for what it is. But I just say I've known her for a long time. At no point in time was she for black communities. Holding it down for black communities. She might have been holding it down for Willie Brown.
Actually, I believe her words were, we don't need to let people out of prison because then we can't afford the labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have my problems with Kamala. You can vote for Kamala. That's fine. There are a lot of things you could do with a law degree. Michelle Alexander, tried that stuff for a while, too. And then she realized it's better to write a book about all the people putting black people in prison. Kamala Harris did not decide it was better to write a book about putting black people in prison. She decided it was better to put black people in prison. Better for her career. And that's just who she is. You can do a lot of things with law degrees. And there's such a thing as a progressive prosecutor. She wasn't one of them. No.
I love how she wants to reform the bail bond system now. And if you look at her cases, she completely used that to her advantage.
It's terrorism. So we are under a standing order of terrorism. We need to convert people to see that that's what it is. Black people just need to admit that they're terrified of white people. And white people need to admit that white people are terrifying. Yeah, like I don't. This illusion that white people aren't terrifying, as they say that if you actually advocate for yourself, I'll get my gun. Is just an illusion. So we need to pierce that illusion. And if you support the work I'm doing, go ahead and go to thefunkyacademic.com. Sign up for $5, $15, or $50 a month because, believe it or not, this work doesn't pay. But yet I have bills, and I would like that to happen. Matthew, what's on your mind? What's up?
I just wanted to point out that, like, even before the Allegory of the Cave even happens, like, the prior 6 books are all about convincing everyone else why justice matters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's Matthew. People don't know the intern. I just call him the intern Matthew. Matthew is smarter than I am. So if Matthew ever runs for something, just vote for him or give him money because, he's doing this right now because he was one of my best students. He's very smart.
Act like the chat does not already love Matthew. They are already voting for him.
No, like Matthew Ingram, this guy, if you see him, just support him. The first 6 books of the Republic are arguments about why justice matters. Because the first book of the Republic, actually, this is Plato's Republic. The first book of the Republic goes through a lot of the arguments about why justice matters, and everyone agrees with the arguments, just nobody cares. Nobody cares. So the book 2 through 6 are like, all right, so this is why you don't care about good arguments. It's because your soul is deformed. Because I gave you all the arguments, you just didn't care. You just don't care. And you know that you admit that I gave you all the arguments, but you just don't care. And so this is why you don't care, because you're a sociopath. Your soul is deformed. So this is the kind of education that gets you to care about the truth. And then the 7th book is the allegory, and then books 8 and 9 are how kind of it devolves from there. So, thank you for your time. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Yeah, interesting times for me at UGA. All tea will be spilled about the judicial process and all of the process. I'm
put that out there beforehand.
I'm an emancipated Negro. And I know, having seen my file, that there's someone getting staff hours right now to watch this show. Your name will be named as a part of justice, because this is happening to me, and I think people need to know the institutions that they think are working for them might not be working for them. So if they work for me, that will be known, and if they don't work for me, that will be known too. And it won't be retaliatory, it'll be enlightening, it'll be revealing, because I just want transparency throughout the process. And with that, thank you for your time. I'll see you next week, and peace.